Hi guys, welcome back to Comprehensive Color Blending 2. Today we're going to be doing the dahlia. The paperwork for this course is located in the description box below. So we're going to be working on the dahlia. Now this is our fourth flower that we're working on, and this is where it gets harder. So I'm going to divide this up into a beginner's lesson and an intermediate lesson. So there's going to be really two. We're going to take the beginning lesson to a higher level. Today we're going to be covering 5 ways to improve your art, and if you follow these 5 things, even a beginner's art will look really natural. We're going to take a look at the black and white version of this flower. The color version is located in your paperwork. There are 5 things that you need to concentrate on when you're first sketching out this picture or doing the bottom layers for this picture. You're going to have to take a look at your subtle changes. Every petal is different. There's going to be subtle changes in the hue, subtle changes in the direction that the petal goes to. And these are things that you have to look at to get a realistic flower. 2, you're going to look for your arrows. Now, what are arrows? Now, that's something that I've been teaching for a very long time. It's the area where 2 corners meet, okay? It's always going to be darker. Those are your arrows. Number 3, irregularity. You don't want to create every single petal to look like the petal next to it. That's one of the worst things that new people do. It's a bad habit to get into. It's the same thing with leaves. Every leaf on a flower should look different because the light hits every petal or every leaf differently, even if it's in a confined space. They're never the same. Number 4, remember your texture. The texture of a flower petal is not bright. Now, you can have certain colors on there that will make a flower petal pop. But if you're going to do a flower petal, you have to keep in mind they're not shiny. There's no flower petals that are shiny. So if you put a bright white highlight onto a petal, nothing about it will be realistic. So we're going to use subtle color changes instead of a bright white uniform spot on every petal. Besides the fact, if you do that for every petal, eventually your entire picture is going to distort. Notice that these have highlights, but these don't. Why would you put a highlight on something that's behind? Okay? And that's the last thing you're going to look at. Concentrate on what's under and what's over. The highlights will go on the petals that are the highest, where the light hits it first. So you might have highlights on this petal, maybe this petal, but the rest of the petals are not going to have that big bright spot. So again, 1, your subtle color changes. 2, look for your arrows. 3, include irregularities. Every petal should be different. 4, your bright spots. Subtle, not blaring, and recognize where they should go as nature would intend, and the texture. A flower petal would not reflect the light. It doesn't have that in its texture to do that. If you were making a flower that's made out of metal, you might have that in certain areas, but never on a flower that you have in a garden scene or a bouquet should have that bright white effect. Here's a picture that I found from Wikipedia, and there's 12 examples of flowers, and you can see there's no bright white in the petals. So when you're coloring, you have to take this into consideration. When the object that you're coloring is reflective, think of metal. Metal would reflect, a mirror reflects, something that has glass would reflect. You would have that bright white spot. Anything else that doesn't completely repel the light is absorbing the light, and you're not going to have that reflective. Remember, the highlight is a reflection of the light source. Not every object reflects the light source. On a flower, there are some areas that you want to make lighter so that it looks like it's coming at you. And a lot of people get confused with that. It could be called a highlight if you want to call it that, but it really isn't. That's your center light. The center light is the point where an object is the closest to the light source. And that's why it becomes a little bit brighter and a little bit lighter. But a reflective highlight happens when the flower or the object is reflecting the light. And a highlight can also be all over the flower. You wouldn't necessarily have a highlight in the same spot on the flower. So if you were looking from below, you'd have your highlight in a completely different area than if you were looking at it from above. The last thing I want to talk about is the colors that you're going to choose. You're going to choose analogous trios. Now, this is a pink. I'm using the Starjoy Golds. The list of the colors are for Prismacolor are in the paperwork, and then I will give you later on in the description, I will give you the comps for Polychromos. This is a beginning way of learning how to shape the flowers. It's not necessarily the only way. So if you see me in the future doing something like this and I'm not doing it exactly like this, it's because I can do it other ways. But you now have your base of your flower. You're going to take the next darkest color, okay? And in this case, it's 2R. You can go to 2R, or another choice is fuchsia, and that's 54 VR. Notice that it's both R. So it's got the violet mixed into the red, and that's fine too. In fact, fuchsia is a very good choice. And what we want to do is have the center of these flowers darker than the outside. When fully developed, that's going to give the illusion that the petals are forming a ball this way. So very lightly, I'm going to do all the petals, just in the centers. So now that you've done the first two steps, now we're going to go to our third color, which is a darker color. And it's still analogous, but we've skipped over tones. Okay? And we're going to use this for our darkened areas. Now, our darker areas, when I was talking to you earlier, are your arrow areas. Now, your arrow areas are where two corners meet each other. And that you would have into the crevices of the leaves. But on here, you have to think of the other thing that I told you, and that's irregularity. No petal looks alike. There is no formula to make a petal look like the next one and the next one and the next one, so that the whole flower looks basically flat and just there. So each one of these has its darkened areas in different places, and that's where we're going to put in our dark. So we're going to just look, and this one has its darkened area over here. Don't worry about blending it in at this point. We're just blocking things in. This one, okay. This one, which correlates with this, has darkened areas going all throughout. And notice that this area is very light, and this area is darker, but not as dark as this. So I can safely go in with my medium tone and make sure I get that area. And then it has a darker area right there. Not caring so much about blending it in. I just want it there. This is just blocking. Okay, very quick and loose. Now we're going to get our dark area over here on this one. Now, by putting in all these different shading areas and treating each petal as its own entity, at this point, I'm going to start to create those irregularities that create a realistic looking flower. The worst thing that you want to do is do every one with a rule so that it looks stiff and unnatural. So I'm going to switch you on to hyperlapse, and I'm going to do the rest of the blocking in with my darker color, and then we'll take it to the next stage doing details. My base is now done. I'm really happy of where my lights and darks are going to go. And even as a beginner, you should be able to do just this if you take it slow. Now remember that we have boxes on here as guidelines. Remember, in the paperwork, we're using these boxes as guidelines. So you take this box would measure up with this box, and you can concentrate just on what's in that area. And also remember, it does not have to be perfect. Your flower is its own unique thing. So if this is the first time you're doing this technique, or this is the first time you're actually trying this style and you like it, it will get easier. And it also gets a lot easier once you get some areas in. I personally, and this is only the way I do it, some people can do this method to the way it was kind of designed, where you do one box to its fullest and then the next box to its fullest. I just mentally cannot do that. I don't see objects in blocks like that. I like to have everything emerge from the bottom and then work its tones up to the top. So right now, this is at the beginner stage. I expect all my comprehensive color blending to students to at least try this. Please, I accept them in my email. My email is in the description box below, and I will give you a critique of your picture, and I will guide you along and tell you where it's going. And let me tell you, the people who have been religiously sending me their things, wow. I had one guy that sent me a picture just the other day. He's working on the last picture that I did. And I thought it was a photograph. I just was like, what? And he did so good. He's like a natural artist. So someday I really feel like my art teacher is fooling me, and he's really my art teacher because the guy's got so much going on for him. I have a hard time imagining he is not trained. If this is the first time he is picking up the pencil, I know I'm digressing. He's fantastic. And I tell him that with every picture too. So don't be afraid to send me your pictures. We will get you there. And I'm going to leave this at this point and let you get to this point so that I don't take it too far with you. So we're going to do this in two. This is your beginning. For your beginners, get it to this point. Lots of different, you could see where this picture is actually going to go. It's going to come to life. It's got good bones. And that's where I want you guys to be at. Give me a picture back that has really good bones. And I will see you guys in the next video. Take care. Bye-bye.